Hi there, folks. Sean Broderick for Oxford Club, speaking to Chris Brown, and he is a geologist, so he would rather stick to the geology when he's speaking about this project. But I just want to get a basic idea from him of like what the company plans to do, say, over the next year. Can you at least speak to that? Because you know what you guys are doing drilling-wise and like stuff like that. So what's your plan actually going forward?
It's very simple. We want to expand the resource here at North Bullfrog. We've got 1.5 million ounces on the books, indicated and inferred, that we're on our last PEA, and we've got a new PEA coming out in January. The old one doesn't take into account the high-grade mineralization that we've been discovering here lately. So we want to expand that. We're doing met testing on a lot of the drilling, looking at the recoveries, which are looking favorable, 80% on average. And because of the yellow jacket vein system, because of the nature of it being a blind discovery, it doesn't outcrop at the surface. We think that there's more of those systems out there. So we're using yellow jacket as a educational tool, basically, to once we figure that system out, which we're doing a pretty good job on right now, we want to go to some of the other areas around the property that we think have the same kind of potential.
All right. Now, here's a thing, and something that that really stuns me about this project. I've been out there to those various areas where you guys are drilling, and you must have been all over it a lot. The old-timers actually put a lot of holes in the ground, but they never found this stuff. Can you explain why maybe that is?
Well, they did find some stuff.
Yeah, but I mean that big, thick, high-grade vein in the yellow jacket and like stuff like that.
Well, that stuff wasn't exposed at the surface. It was covered up by dacite, and I think whenever they saw these sheets of dacite on the ground, they went around to the edges where there was silica adularia altered tuff that hosted, there were brittle units that hosted high-grade veins, and that's what they were looking for. So we're finding the high-grade vein systems, or at Yellow Jacket, underneath these rocks that the old-timers thought were more or less benign. And also, around the turn of the century when the old-timers were here, some of these pits were actually following things that were mineralized, and others were just basically scams for investors. I mean,
a hole in the ground with a liar on top.
Yeah, it's like Mark Twain.
Right.
Famous quote. Yeah. So which ones were actually the real deal and which weren't. It's hard to determine when you're driving around and looking at all these holes. We've gone into some of them. We try not to do that because it's kind of dangerous.
Yeah.
We do have some underground, workings, or maps of underground workings that have helped us out a little bit, but. The most important thing for us has been, detailed structural mapping at the surface with some, IP geophysics, and once we hit one of these systems with the drill, we're drilling oriented core, so processing that data, reducing it, and making sure that it's telling us the right direction to go, so we can hit it again. We've been really successful with that. It's basically created by the collision of the Pacific Plate into North America about 30 to 10 million years ago, and this is basically the northeast extension of that crustal damage, if you would say.
So those two plates moving together thrust this up?
Basically, as the Pacific Plate was crashing into North America, it was trying to rip off California, and I think there's people that would have thought that was a good thing, but anyways, it did not succeed, and it created a large damage zone. The Sierra, or the San Andreas Fault is a part of that, and it created a chain of volcanoes that exist just to the east of us, and so those were active around the time that the collision event was waning, and the gold mineralization was put into the rocks in this area between 10 and 13 million years ago, and that's pretty much the Bullfrog mine that was mined to the south of us, and the mineralization that we're looking at now in North Bullfrog. They're all they've been age dated to around that time, around 9 to 11 million years.
in fact, there are hot springs right down the road there. This is called Boiling Pot Road, and the reason I bring that up is because where you have volcanoes, you have the kind of activity that can really mineralize rocks and really bring this stuff up. So that just speaks to what you were speaking about, is yeah, this has been a very active area geologically, and that's why these guys can actually find this cool stuff, and they are finding more of it. One last thing that I want to speak about was Yellow Jacket. You mentioned 2 bonanza grade holes you guys have found, but that's not the limit of like what you have found, right?
No.
Yeah, but you can't really speak to what you have found because you haven't released it yet.
Exactly.
All right, so we can expect more good news from these guys, and they do have the new PEA coming out in January, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and so
Late January.
Late January, so that's something to look forward to. And from here, I guess we can head out and just take a look around. This is Sean Broderick. I'm in the core shack of Corvus Gold, and I just want to give you folks a view of like what this place looks like. You can see that they're really busy here. Looking around, we can see rows upon rows of this core hasn't even been processed yet. And look at all the boxes boxes of core that they have to go through. Is this stuff in their PEA? No, it is not. This is just what they have to do in the future, and they're going to be doing a lot more drilling too. So if you're looking for busy miners, this is what busy miners should be doing. At least at this stage of the company. They need to just get as much core as they can, build up the resource, define it, and just give them an idea of what it looks like so they can actually put a good mine plan together. So as you can see, Chris is over there looking at some core right now. He's been showing me some visible gold.
This is visible gold circled on this core sample.
So things look pretty good. I can't wait to see what they come up with next. Okay, folks, this is where holes 358 through 361 were drilled. And that's some of the core that I showed back on the bench, back in their core shack. And this just gives you an example of like the kind of stuff that they're doing here. And they're busy with all sorts of stuff. The crew's off on break now, but when they come back, they'll have plenty more work to do. But I just want to thank you for speaking to my subscribers. And is there anything else you'd like to mention?
Stay tuned. It's an exciting project, and we've got more excellent systems to get in the core box, and we're going to be doing that for the rest of the year.
Okay. This is Sean Broderick for Oxford Club. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Chris, for speaking to my subscribers. And I'll have more good stuff for you guys coming up.